Every day's a chance you can do something amazing to feel your passion blazing and shine.
Paint with every vision, dance in new directions, explode to new heights in your mind.
I will rise up with you today.
Lift up my voice.
Lift up my voice and boldly say, we are the ones we've been waiting for.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to AGNT Speaks. We are here coming to you live each week as your AGNT Leadership Council. So it is a privilege to be able to serve on this council, and we created AGNT Speaks as a way to reach out, to connect, to have conscious conversations. So every week we are here live on social media, and we are also live in the Zoom room. So you have two ways to check into this conversation today. We bring to you each week a mindful conversation or a spiritual practice, something that can help you presence the world around you and be more fulfilled in the world that is within you. So it is my delight to greet you today. Remember, if you want to hop into the Zoom room, the registration is quick. You can go ahead and fill out the registration form, and then you get to pop in there and we discuss these topics that we discuss on the live stream. We discuss them more in depth, and you can bring your questions to that too. We'd also like to hear from you. Is there something that is on your heart or on your mind? Is there a spiritual question, a contemplation that has to do with you, your life, your community that you would like us to discuss? If so, just visit agnt.today and go to the contact us button and go ahead and email us your questions, your thoughts, your requests on anything that you would like to hear discussed in 2021. With that said, I am Reverend Erin, and I am coming to you from Unity Village Chapel, which is the spiritual community located at headquarters for the Unity movement. And it is my delight to welcome Reverend David Alexander, who is coming to us from CSL in Georgia today for this conscious conversation. So David, welcome, welcome. Happy New Year. And what do you have for us to discuss today?
Happy New Year, everyone. Wow, what a difference an election makes, huh? Yeah, coming to you from the great state of Georgia and the great city of Atlanta. Unfortunately, I'm not in DeKalb County, which is the county that that put everything over the top for both John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock for the Senate. So there are some great sweatshirts. I have one ordered. It's on the way. It says Atlanta saved everyone. But anyway, enough boasting about that. Yeah, I have a couple of things on my mind today. First and foremost, because it is the International Holocaust Remembrance Day.
Yes.
And also in reference to the journey that we've been on through the last 4 years and this space that we now find ourselves in, which is still a very mixed space, right? There are those of us who are, as we were just sharing in joy and elation and, you know, the change that we have been praying for, you know, has come. And there are many of our families and communities are still very divided, and energy has just been suppressed. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's just been quieted and suppressed in many ways. And so we have to kind of talk about that too. And so kind of finding a way to weave all of those things together. I turned to Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who was a Lutheran pastor in Germany who was in resistance to the Nazi regime, was a pacifist, and ended up eventually becoming part of a plot to assassinate Hitler, and then was caught in that and put in a camp and was actually executed just a few days after the war ended. After the liberation of Auschwitz, the soldiers kept marching and they got to where he was, and the war was over. Technically, he was free, but they didn't get to him soon enough, and so the soldiers there still executed him. 36 years old. So anyway, so if you don't know Dietrich Bonhoeffer, some great documentaries and work out there. But one of the things he says is this. He says, we are not to simply bandage the wounds of the victims beneath the wheels of injustice. We are to drive a spoke into the wheel itself. And that really sticks out to me about the time that we are in, because I think we've been in a season of bandaging the wounds, right? We've been creating spaces where we're taking extra care to see each other, to hear each other, to make sure that we're articulating our values, Black Lives Matter, and all these sorts of things. And while the election was certainly good news, we are not done yet. And I think that there is a real danger of becoming complacent, and all of the calls for unity, all of the calls for peace, and can't we just get along, without accountability and responsibility for what brought us here. We are simply inviting that kind of trauma to visit us again. So for me, it's about a mindfulness of it. It's kind of harsh language, but it's a harsh reality we're talking about. What does it mean to drive a spoke into the wheel itself? And for me, that doesn't mean being against any group of people. It doesn't mean anything like that. The wheel is the wheel of consciousness, right? I mean, what you and I are steeped in and followers of New Thought is a very basic reality that consciousness is everything. And so it's about stepping back from the personalization of it. Those people over there and those people who stormed the Capitol. And it's not about that. This is about consciousness.
Yeah. And I hear you saying stopping the cycle, like that quote being about stopping the cycle. Like if you're not going to stop the cycle, you're really not doing anything.
And yeah, and what feeds that cycle? It's that cycle comes from a consciousness that supports it. And so now is if we say we are the people who believe that we know how consciousness works, thoughts become things, and what we're experiencing is a result of that, then let's go to work. Now is not the time for sort of kumbayaing ourselves back to sleep. It's a time to really roll up our sleeves and go to work and say, let's dive in together and understand what was at play. What was the consciousness that was at play? Brought us to this moment, and how do we heal that?
Right, because if we don't heal it, it's going to come back in another form, another way, another place, another person, another time frame.
Yeah.
And probably more intense, right?
Absolutely. So that's what's on my mind, and so we're doing a couple of things. I really actually love to invite people to participate with us.
Yeah.
One, I'm be doing a introduction to a class that we're going to do later on in March, but it's called Unpacking Whiteness. It's with a wonderful race and justice educator in Portland, Oregon. It's part of my community there for many years. Her name is Jen Moore. And so next Wednesday, we're going to do just an introductory webinar about what it's about and see if people want to participate and join that work, because for me, that's the wheel of consciousness that's at play here. It's this consciousness called whiteness, which is not a skin tone, right? I get in trouble all the time on Facebook. People say, you can't say that. I'm basically, they're saying, I'm a good white person, right? So this is not about that. This is not about how you identify racially or genetically or even culturally. This is about a pervasive form of thinking that I call whiteness, or some people would call supremacy, or the operation of unconscious bias, or however you want to phrase it. But I think we need to call it what it is. And it's about going at that and saying, where does that consciousness live in me? And how can I eradicate it? How can I unpack it and understand it, figure out how it got there and how to operate separate from it. So that's what we're doing. I'll put the link maybe in the Zoom chat later.
Yeah, and then we'll also post it on the AGNT Facebook page
Awesome.
because that way people can get to it there.
Awesome. And then the other thing, we were talking about, we still have division in our families, and we have all this angst, so we still got to gather around the Thanksgiving table and to talk with each other next year, right? So how do we do that? Because we have discovered that maybe we have people in our families on different sides of the issue, and whether that's our family of choice and our spiritual communities, and also blood-related families, all of the above. And so we're doing a class right now that just started last Monday, and people can still join. It's free, or it's based on a love offering, and it's called You Belong. And it's talking about the consciousness and the activity of belonging. What does it mean? What does it mean to belong? What does it mean to, what does it mean when we're reaching for belonging, like we're trying to fit in? Uh,
Hmm.
how do we distinguish when we do feel like we fit in and when we don't? And the author talks about that belonging is something that's more innate, that we belong whether we feel like it or not, whether it looks like we do or not. We belong to everything, and so does everybody else. And so we're taking an 8-week journey to really unpack that and to gain a deeper sense of our spiritual belonging to the world in which we
Yeah,
live.
that's good, because I do know that is facing a lot of people that struggle because of what people have experienced as some fundamental differences in what they see as their morals, or what they want for the world or the future, or what they believe about humanity or divinity. And so people are coping with that right now and looking at how do I have integrity with myself and my God and my practice, and show up in things that are shifting right in front of my eyes, like relationships. The season for nonviolence topic for today is integrity. And so I think that what you're offering is going to give people a good opportunity to just dive into those questions in a safe space of how do I stay in integrity with myself, and also stay in love and create a sense of belonging, for myself and for others in the world.
Yeah, yeah. On Sunday, I gave a prescription for this because I felt like after the inauguration, it was like there were parts of my body that had been tense for 4 years. I didn't even know. It's kind of like after a workout, when you haven't worked out for a long time, and you feel parts of your body that it was like, oh, well, hello,
Right.
what is that
I didn't
muscle?
know that was.
And so it's kind of like that. There's a lactic acid that builds up in our muscles from exercising them and from bracing them and them being tense. And so what do we do after a good workout? We hydrate, we rest, and we have to stretch. And so for me, that's kind of the prescription for going forward right now with family members, with friends, with people on different spectrums, that you know we deserve a rest. We've been through a lot. So by all means, watch less news, take a break, meditate, take a walk, shift things up a little bit. Self-care is very important. Hydrate for me is about spiritual nourishment, because water and spirit, right? The baptism and the flow of life. So be inspired and nourished and all of that. But then stretch also, right? It's important to keep grow. That's why these classes, right? Keep growing. Invite yourself to, well, what does unpacking whiteness mean? What does, stretch those muscles, and don't allow yourself to just get complacent to think that, well, I voted for the good guys, so we're done, right?
Right, right. And even with the conversations, with having conscious conversations with those we love and care about, those in our community, sometimes people can kind of go, okay, that's done. So now I'm not going to not confront it, but I'm not going to converse about it anymore. And like you said before, the cycle will continue to repeat itself until we heal it. And part of healing means becoming aware of something, and then moving the energy, having conscious conversations, and developing understanding and compassion and wholeness, and learning from each other. So let's be in integrity with our practice and not let that stop, just because there may be the appearance of more comfort, or maybe the appearance of, the big snowboarding adventure is over. I feel all my tight muscles, and now I can go back to sitting on my couch. No couch surfing here.
Right, exactly, that's it. And I think that's just the message that we all need to hear right now. And it's the both and, right? It's like, yeah, take a break, you're tired, I get it, you're worn out, yeah, we all deserve a rest, but then hydrate and stretch and keep going, because this is where the real work really begins to take shape for us.
Thank you so much, David. As always, it is an honor to have you on this conversation with us. So thank you for what you bring and the gift that you are, the consciousness that you represent. And everyone, remember, you can hop into the Zoom room if you would like to share some questions, share some thoughts, have more depth in this conversation. So let's have a clip from David now.
In the normal world, we sent love and light to the disadvantaged, believing that our thoughts and prayers would suffice. In the normal world, we didn't tackle the hard issues because we didn't have to. You see, there's something about the gift of these last 4 years that we have been through together, my friends, that served as a ripping of the Band-Aid off of our collective skin, so that we could see the wounds for what they really were, so that we could see them as systemic and pervasive and enduring. We realized that they weren't put there over the last 4 years. They weren't put there even by the people that were perpetuating harm in the moment. No, those individuals were simply ripping off the scab off of the surface, but the wound had been there for generations, for decades, for millennia. And what grew out of that was a courage and a tenacity and a willingness upon the collective consciousness to say, okay, let's deal with the wound at the source. Let's stop pointing fingers and blaming, and let's do the real hard work. And so I don't want a unity if it means going back to silence, if it means dismissal and avoidance of the tough conversations, if it means just playing nice with the political spectrum of our friends and family and our congregants. I don't seek to go back to that normal.
As always, David, thank you for that incredible reminder. We do not want to go back to the same circumstances and the same situations that created the discord, that created the polarization, that created division, that create violence, that create a world that does not work for all. So let's all step into our practice and stand in our power and create a world that works for all. If you want to get more involved in the Season for Nonviolence, it kicks off this Sunday, and you can find out more information at agnt.today. There are community virtual circles where you can participate and activate these practices and these principles together. And so if you go to the AGNT page and to our Facebook page, you can find out more about the season's sacred circles that join together to do these practices. And we will post also the information from David's spiritual community, so you can get involved. They are a powerhouse of a spiritual community doing great work in this world. So as you can see on this screen, this is showing you a variety of the activities that you can join in. There is so much to choose from. There is something for everyone. So we hope to see you online in one of our virtual community experiences, 64 ways in 64 days. Everyone, thank you for joining us for AGNT Speaks. It is a delight to host you. We're going to hop into the Zoom room, so if you want to join us, come on over now. And otherwise, we'll see you next week at AGNT Speaks.
Every day's a chance to